Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to this Aero FastForward webinar on Veeam Cloud Service Provider Program Essentials, covering the Veeam rental program specifically for cloud providers, the benefit, the opportunities, how to report, and compliance. My name is Theis Andersen Samsi, and I'm going to be your host today, taking you through all the material. And if you have any questions along the presentations, don't be shy and just give me a ping and we can take them online. So let us get started. So as I said, just some housekeeping. Again, the material may not be complete. So if you have something that you do not understand or is not covered, just ask. You can use the Q&A in the Zoom controls. Just ask the question, we can answer it online. If I don't know the answer, I'll make something up or I'll research it and get back to you with an answer on that specific questions. But you are here, you invested the time, so let's try to be interactive on this one. Just a thumbs up if everything is great. That's also awesome. So we know we are kind of aligned. Also, the presentation is being recorded. So you will be able to share it amongst your colleagues afterwards. We'll send out a link with the recording. I think it will go up on our YouTube channel, so you can also watch there. So just going through the agenda that we have to go through these next 45 minutes or so, looking at the opportunities in the cloud provider program for Veeam. Also, what is the cloud provider? What is Vcsp? What is it covering? What's in it for you guys? Also, if you're using it, maybe you find something that you have not using currently that you would be able to monetize, make a service of, or just add as a value add to your existing customer base. Covering the Pulse portal, that's where all the reporting, license, all the things related to the Vcsp program is done. So just walking through that one quickly. Also where you do the usage reporting and have your, at least once a month, you will go into this portal. So just covering how you would report your usage correctly. Some tips and tricks to setting yourself up for success. So you're upfront with everything you need to know and don't need to do catch up on that. Program compliance, that is just to make sure that you're following the guidelines within the program. So you are 100% confident that you're offering the service that is allowed within this program. And lastly, we'll finish up if you have some question, but as I said in the beginning, just feel free to ask them along the way and we'll pick up on those as we go along. All right, let's get rocking. So just starting up with the announcements, there are not a lot, and I had this on the previous presentation. Also, just circling back, this is a thing around the Vcsp program that we are running twice a year. So last year, in the end, we actually went through this. There will be some updates and new knowledge, some new questions we have received along the way that we're going to cover. So even though you already participated in this webinar last year, there might be something new for you that you weren't presented last time. So at least now we think we have a date for the next version of Veeam Backup for Office 365. That's version 6. I said it would be out in the first quarter this year, and it seems to be, because it seems to be released tomorrow. So the next version of Office 365 with the two major features that we know that's going to be included, that is a lightweight self-service portal that's included in the product. So now you can offer your customers to go in and actually do the restore themselves. So a huge improvement on that one. So you don't have to create your own storefront, make your own web interface and stuff like that. Now it is provided within the product. Also integration to the cloud provider portal or product that we're going to cover just in a bit. But that's also one of the major features in this new release of Office 365. And actually it's also changing name. So now it's not called Veeam Backup for Office 365. I should have corrected that. It's called Veeam Backup for Microsoft. So that is a new name for this product going forward, but it's still, version 6 of that product. All right. So let's touch on the opportunities and the program benefits here in this program. So the program is specifically designed for cloud providers. That can be if you are a hoster, if you are a managed service provider, there's something in this program for you guys. Also, it's free. It's free in that sense, it's free to get started. There are no costs associated with being in the program. There's no yearly program fee. You can start in a no commitment plan, so you're just paying for what you're using. So that's a huge win in this program. No upfront. You can build out your service, and when you consume it, you charge for it, obviously for your customers, and then obviously you pay for it. So very easy to get into this. Also, it provides access to all the product in the Veeam portfolio. So not only the backup or replication product, but you have also product as Veeam One, as the Orchestrator product, as the backup for Azure, Cloud VM, stuff like that. So you get a full range of products that are available in this program, and you can just purchase them again on an as you consume them basis, right? It provides backup opportunities for backing up your customer data. And that's very important, because if you look at the perpetual program or the subscription program, but on the resale side, you cannot use that product to back up your customers' data. Obviously, the customers can buy those licenses and protect their own data. But if you want to protect your customers' data, so you're owning the backup software from Veeam, then you would need to get into this Vcsp program. Otherwise, it's not allowed within the terms and conditions of the license. Also good to know, production support is included in this program. And that's not based on any consumption level or anything. Once you sign up to this free Vcsp service provider program, you actually get production support from day one. So, if you don't have anything installed, that doesn't make any sense. Should you have something where you need to create a support case, actually just signing up on this program will give you access to production support on the product. So nice to know. Obviously, it's not something to misuse or anything, but it's a nice opportunity in there. Also, you get a free listing on the Veeam website as a Veeam cloud provider. So you will be in there with all the big providers around the world as a Veeam cloud provider. So also a good benefit of that. And you can start offering managed services to your customers. So if you haven't already started, great opportunity to just get some services out there in your catalog where you very easily and without any cost can start to offer these managed services. And lastly, it's 100% partner driven. So you're not in competition with Veeam selling their own services. This is something you build out yourself, and the whole program is just to support that fact. So no direct competition from Veeam itself, obviously competition from your colleagues in the marketplace, but you build your own services and you do what you need to make them unique to your customers and to your market. So also very important. So in a highlight, just going through what solutions you can build on this, and this is just examples. Obviously, there could be a combination of these, could be something entirely different that you're using the product. But just to give you a general idea of what you can use the products for and what you can do to offer as a service or just selling to your customers. So one thing is the managed services. So if you have a customer that are driving their own data center, but they don't really care for managing their backup, they want somebody external to do the daily management, making sure the backup jobs are running, stuff like that. But they still want to keep their backup on site. You could deliver the Veeam backup solution on the rental program. So using your Vcsp program to deliver those services directly on customer premise. Important thing to note here, you need to deliver them as a managed service. That means you have to create a service where you kind of wrap your own thing around it, meaning, keeping an eye on the backup, making sure the platform is updated, stuff like that. So all the soft values and the soft service offerings around that. So it's not to be mistaken as just, procuring a license on a per month basis. That's not allowed in the program. So you have to build out a managed service around that in order to deliver to your on-premise customers. So again, very flexible, very nice way to provide the service. One case could be that currently when customers want to upgrade or extend their service on their existing Veeam backup product, if they bought that previously, and they just want to extend the service, now they're kind of forced to make an upgrade at the same time as the extension, because Veeam deprecated the standard and the enterprise version. So only Enterprise Plus is now available as a perpetual or subscription license. And that could be like for some customers, that is a steep investment, because it's not just the service you're extending, it's also an addition upgrade. So here you can, as a cloud provider, still offer the standard version, the enterprise version, on your customers, on site with your customers, obviously adding your services on top, but that's your margin. And that's a good competition instead of just extending the existing service on the license that the customers already invested in. So, I mean, they will lose the investment there, but they gain flexibility. They can gain like monthly payment instead of just an upfront investment for a service extension. Also, you can go ahead and build out a cloud repository. So that would support, obviously, your own customers, but also customers from other partners that wants to have a second site for their backup data. So in this scenario, you on your own data center or in a hyperscaler, so we have some partners that don't have their own data center. If you want to build this cloud repository, you can do that on Google Cloud, you can do it on AWS, you can do it on Azure. So you build a virtual machine up there with some storage attached to that, or you build it in your own data center, also with storage attached to that, and you set up a cloud repository. Now you can offer to offsite the data backup from your customers, so they can use you as a second site for just securing their data file or backup files. So that's another use case. Hosting backup. If you're providing hosting services, you would be able to back up those customers on your hosting platform using Veeam in this program, because again, the license rights extend, so you can back up third-party data when you're using the Vcsp program. Otherwise, in the perpetual and subscription, as I said, that is not allowed. So this is the program to be in if you are doing hosting and you want to have Veeam backing up your customers' VMs. Then we have disaster recovery as a service, and that's kind of combination of the two prior. So either you have a cloud repository and you would like to offer an extended service, you have a data center, and offer the service that not only can the customer offsite their data, the backup data to you, but they can actually also spin it up. So if needed, they don't have to kind of pull all the data back to themselves and do the restore. Now you can offer a service where they can, instantly almost restore the backup files to a virtual machine in your environment and then keep running. Also for your hosting, you can do the same, obviously. It's just located already in your own data center. And again, there's a possibility to do replication in the product as well. So for some customers, it's very important to have some of their VMs, it's line of business VMs, critical VMs of sort. They want to have that VM replicated so they can just fail over. And you can offer this kind of service again with Veeam in a combination of a cloud repository and your own services or services in a hyperscale. Cloud backup. So again, this is moving data from the Office 365, now Microsoft 365 platform, and you store a secure copy on your side. So again, just keeping the customer's data secure wherever they are. So if they're in Azure, if they're AWS, if they're in Google Cloud, you can still offer them to take a backup in your site or in another secure location, but still the product to facilitate this kind of backup of these data, they are there. Lastly, and a new addition, it's the Kubernetes Backup. So Kubernetes is this container orchestration thing. And the backup for that is, the whole configuration, the metadata of the Kubernetes, because the whole proposal of Kubernetes and the container orchestration is that it's very scalable, and as such, it doesn't really need backup, because if something goes down, you should be able to spin it up from a base point. But again, important that the base point is actually being backed up. The data, the metadata of the whole installation is being backed up, so you are able to easily recover in case of a total disaster or something weird happens. You can use that. You can also use it to actually copy all the configuration data from one installation to another installation. So as we saw earlier with the backup and recovery product, a lot of people were using actually the backup and replication product, specifically also to just lift and shift VMs from one platform to another platform. You can do that still. You can also do it with cloud, but now you can also do it with Kubernetes. So you can move from one installation of Kubernetes to another installation of Kubernetes using Veeam Products here. So some examples of some really nice use cases you can use the Veeam Products and the service provider program for. So all the program or the products that Veeam have, they go really good hand in hand, offering additional value and propositions. So again, we have the Veeam Backup and Replication product. It's like the flagship, right? It's one of those that is just very mature. You have full confidence that not only can you back up data, but you can also restore data again. The product, as you know, comes in standard, enterprise, enterprise plus. There are different features. You can find the feature comparison on the Veeam website. So if you want to get to that, just go to Google, type in Veeam edition comparison, and you'll get to a checkmark list that would show you the difference in the free versions. And as a cloud provider, you still have access to the free versions, so you can deploy whichever version that is right for you or for your customer. A good thing to also highlight here is maybe the overlooked feature in backup and replication with this the Sure restore, Sure backup. So you can actually have a sandbox environment where you have the backup data and you can restore it into a sandbox. You can test that everything is working as expected in a restore scenario, and then you can shut it down again. With little or almost no overhead into that, as it's starting the whole virtual machine up from the backup data. So a very nice feature. And if you haven't looked into that, I highly recommend just giving that a look. It's so simple to configure and it offers great value and additional services you could provide to your customers. Then you have the Veeam One product. That is the extension onto backup and replication. So here you would go in and monitor if everything is going correctly. Also, you get a nice reporting tool, so you get some reports out of that and analytics as well. So a nice product and very cheap on the cloud provider program. So again, if you haven't played with that, strongly recommend just spinning up a virtual machine, deploying the Veeam One, and have a look at it. It's a really cool product with a lot of nice features and capabilities. Lastly, I just want to highlight the disaster recovery orchestrator here. That because we recently had a customer that had a demand from government that they needed to document the whole backup process. So they would have to deliver a full report on, if everything is secure in the backup, how to restore, what the result of a restore is, and stuff like that, but in an automated fashion, because otherwise they would have to spend a lot of time making all the documentation, and they would need to do that several times a year just to get there. So the disaster recovery orchestrator is this product to actually do that. You get an extensive report of the whole backup test routine, what have been started, what was the result, if you're doing test, what were the results of the test, and shutting everything down again. So very, very detailed. And for this product, you know, you can cover the whole environment. It's a little expensive to do that. But for line of business application, which is often the most you know, important part here, you could just purchase the product to give a report and a test result on those specific VMs. And then it's not an expensive product. It's a really, really nice product with a lot of capabilities, and it's gonna save you, you know, hundreds of hours in reporting and documentation and stuff like that. Also included in this product is the ability to actually set recovery time, so RPO, RTO, right? So you can set, you know, the individual values for these two parameters, and the product will continuously monitor if you can live up to these numbers, right? So imagine that somebody made an adjustment in the configuration of backup and replication. Then the disaster recovery orchestrator would pick up on those changes, and it will tell you, oh, that's going to impact your RPO, for example, or that's going to impact your RTO. Okay, so then it's going to give you a notification and alert, something has changed. Now you're not compliant in the RPO, for example, and you can make a correction to that, making sure that you're always living up to the policy, the company policy that you have set for backup and recovery. All right, so very, very nice feature of this product. So definitely recommending giving that a look. Then we have two products specifically for cloud providers. As I talked to you, as I mentioned previously, you have the Cloud Connect. The Cloud Connect is where you can offer this offsite backup service to your customers. And you can obviously, if you're running a hosting service, you can also use that yourself to offsite the backups. What you do is just install the product, and then it can be published on the web as a Cloud Connect repository, and customers can connect to that service. Obviously, you can extend that with a storefront if you want to offer a storefront service to customers you don't have yet. So you can build some you know, nice website advertising your service, and then, you know, the customer can just go in and click sign up for the service. They get a username and password, and then they're using you as a backup target, right? So a second site backup target. Also, for most of you, you will have a good relationship. You don't want to build the whole web page and stuff like that. Then you can run it like low key, just publishing open port to this Cloud Connect repository. And then if you're doing managed backup services for your customers, you can just go in, type it into the installation on the customer side, and then they can use it for backup copying of their VMs. That's also the place for doing replication offsite if you want to offer that service. But that's a product that would enable you to do that. You don't need a special activation key or anything to do that. Just download the Cloud Connect thing, spin up a virtual machine, install it, open the required ports, and you're ready to offer your service. Again, that's not costing you anything. Once you get consumption on the service, yes, then it will cost you something. And there's some use cases where it's actually very interesting, because the whole service can be free if you're offering your own rental keys in the service provider program to your customers. So being the managed service we spoke about earlier, then the Cloud Connect backup copy service would actually be free, but more on that later. Then we have the Veeam Service Provider Console. So this is a product that has evolved tremendously just over the last maybe 2 years, 1 year actually. It's been upgraded. It's really capable. I would highly, if you're using the cloud provider program, I would highly recommend you to install this product. So what it actually does is it's kind of a gateway for all your installation that you may have on premise with your customers. It can also just be an aggregation point if you're using Veeam cloud provider installations in your own environment. That can be an aggregation point for consumption. So every installation would report in their consumption in the cloud or in the service provider console. And that would make reporting easier because you can connect this data directly to the Pulse portal in Veeam, and they would push in the consumption numbers. So you only have to approve it going forward. So it's a really nice product, capable product. And again, as I mentioned in the start, the next version of Veeam Backup for Microsoft, you would have that product integrate into the service provider console as well. So every consumption data would be aggregated in here and then pushed to the Pulse portal. Also, you would be able to see jobs running in the service provider console. So you can see on a high level which jobs are failing, which jobs are completing. You can also do lightweight management of the job. So if you want to change something, you can click in the job and you can change it. And that's even if it's on premise with the customer, you can do lightweight management in the service provider console. Lastly, in this product, you would be able to white label your services to another partner. So if you have some partners that you're working with that would like to consume your backup services, you can cut out a piece of the service provider console and give that to your partner. Then they can sell that in turn to their customers. So, and you have the whole overview of that scenario. So it's very easy for you to manage. Also, in the newest version, it provides access to license keys as well. So normally you would have to go into the Pulse portal to request the license key. That's not necessary in the latest version of the service provider console. You can do license key management directly in the service provider console, and it's free. When you're in the cloud provider program, this software is free and available to you. You only have to provide a VM to install it. That's it. Again, do interrupt me. I'm talking a lot. So if you have any questions, just pop them in the Q&A. So what is Vcsp? I already touched on this. This is a rental license program, right? It can be confused maybe with subscription, but there are some differences in the usage rights, and it's a program built directly for cloud providers, as it extends the EULA, as I mentioned here, to allow you to manage and store backup of third-party data. So very, very important here. That's why you need to be in the cloud provider program if you are managing or storing the data from a third party, an unaffiliated party. You need to be in the cloud provider program. All right, just briefly stopping here. So a question, Veeam Service Provider Console is able to integrate directly with Veeam Pulse and able to report consumption. Yes, that is the case. I have a small asterisk on that one, and that's just because I'm not running the program, so I haven't seen it live, but I read through the manual and all the stuff, and there is an integration component in the cloud provider console, or service provider console, sorry, where it integrates with Pulse. So that is correct. It should, to all my knowledge and all the articles, push the data into Pulse. And then in Pulse, you would have to approve the numbers there once a month that you are using normally. So that is it. Cool. And, oops, sorry, skipping ahead here. There we go. So we have two types of contract for Vcsp partners. We have the no commit contract. This is the pay as you go, as I mentioned. So a contract, obviously it's a little more expensive, but you only pay for what you're using. If for 1 month you're not using anything, you're not paying anything. So it's only when you have a consumption there, you will pay for that in a no commit contract. Then you have the volume rental agreement, the VRAs, that comes with a minimum monthly commitment. So, and I'll show you the table later on, but there's a minimum commitment that you need to have a certain consumption every month in a period of 12 months, because that's a contract, how long the contract is running. And then you get a discount based on the minimum consumption level. And it's not starting very high. So, you know, actually you just need to have a handful of VMs or a handful of something else that you're consuming, and that would get you into the minimum tier of the rental, VRA, the volume rental agreement, and you'll save some money or have an additional margin where or you want to look at that. So it's not, it's not difficult, and once you get used to that and maybe predicting, your growth, it's a really nice place to be, and very safe. Obviously, if you only have your service running for one customer, I would proceed with caution if you are not making contracts with your customer that are extending, more than 1 year, because then it can be hard to predict, and you would end up maybe paying for a minimum commitment without having actually some income on that. So just make sure you align your own internal contracts against your customers with the rental program, then you are safe. Or make sure you have enough customers with a flexible arrangement that can just support the minimum commitment, and then you can get the discounts. All right. Again, every Veeam product has a point value, and the point value is then aggregated and calculated each month, and then you pay a per point price depending on your contract. So gonna go through that in just a bit. Yeah, and again, the more volume you have, the lower price you can get. So basic concept here, and it starts at 200 points, and that will make sense in just a minute when you see the prices on that. So yeah, here we have the prices. If we are starting on the left side, this is a backup and replication product, and also covering Veeam agents here. So when you look, you can see there's editions starting from the bottom going up. There's the standard edition, the enterprise edition, and in the top, enterprise plus. And for most of them, the only thing changing is the per VM price. So if you're looking at the VM on the bottom, it's starting at 5 points for standard, going to 9 in enterprise and 11 in enterprise plus. The rest of them are actually staying the same because there's no different in features or functionality here. So when you're looking at the line, it says server, and there's a line saying workstation just beneath the VMs. That is for the agents. So that is an Veeam agent running on either a server or workstation. So a server is priced at 11 points per unit, and the workstation is priced at 4 points per unit. Then you have the NAS. So this is a file share backup. Imagine maybe you have a file share running on a storage system. Maybe your customer have Synology or something like that to offer file services or sharing. Then they could use the NAS functionality of backup and replication, and you're paying on a per 500 gigabyte chunks, right? So the first 500 gigabytes is actually free. So as long as you stay below 500, you're not paying for that. When you reach 500, then you're gonna pay 10 points in 500 gigabyte increments. So again, going above 500, that triggers a 10, and then going 1,000, that would trigger 20, right? Hope that makes sense. But below 500, you're not paying. Then we have the cloud VM, so that is backup from Azure or AWS, stuff like that. That is costing 11 points per unit for backing up of these VMs. Then we have the enterprise apps. So enterprise apps would be something like IBM AIX or Oracle Solaris, and the agents for those are costing 11 points per unit. Moving to the right side of the screen, we have the Veeam Cloud Connect. So this is a service you're offering, for example, to your customers for offsite backup. So once you receive a VM in that solution on your Cloud Connect storage, that has a license cost of 5 points per VM. If you're receiving a server, that's a Veeam agent running, and you're receiving backup data from a server, that's 7 points, 3 points for a workstation, and 11 points for a replicated VM. All right, and I'll come back to this in just a couple of slides, because there are some benefits, again, as I mentioned, if you're running a managed service and using your cloud provider licenses on your customer side, then you have some additional benefits in using your own services for a second site backup using the Cloud Connect. Going down to Veeam One, that is has a cost of 2 points per unit. per unit, because you could include everything from network devices to random other systems, and monitor those. So that's why it's a unit price. Also, for most use cases, you would connect that to the backup application just to get extended reporting capabilities and monitoring and alerting from the Veeam One. But again, 2 points. Veeam Availability Orchestrator, that's a product I talked to you about before, 11 points per VM. And as you can see, that's, in addition to, for example, using the backup. So that can, in a total, that would have a quite high cost, because if you're both doing Enterprise Plus, for example, that's 11 points for VM. Then you put the Availability Orchestrator on top, that's 11 points, that's 22 points for a server. That can be quite steep for protecting the whole environment. But I still recommend you to look at this product if you have customers that are subject to have certain company policies, or need to provide evidence that backup is running as expected. Then you could just include the critical VMs that you want to make sure are able to recover and have the right recovery time at the 11 points per VM. Then we have the Veeam Backup for Microsoft 365. That's 1.5 points per user. Important to say here that if you are handling education partner or customers, you would actually have a discount on this product specifically. So if you are going to education institution or something like this, you would be able to have 100 users for only 25 points. All right. Important to know here, it has to be students. So faculty members or staff, administrative staff, stuff like that, that's still 1.5 points per user. But for students, you would be able to have 100 students for 25 points. So that's a good discount in that. Then we have the management pack, and for those who are still using System Center, that is a really nice management extension feature, and that is priced on 45 per socket. Then we have the agents as mentioned before, the AIX, the Solaris, 11 points per server. And then we have the Kubernetes Backup and Disaster Recovery. That's the Kasten product that were acquired a couple of years ago, and that's 320 points per node. It sounds like a lot, but again, the whole nature of container and orchestration is that it's really scaling up. So, it's not comparable to just a VM or something like that. So that's why it may seem high here, but it's actually not. So how to calculate the price per unit? So again, you have a product in an edition that has a certain point value. Then you have a price on a per point. And that's quoted from our side in USD, because Veeam is charging in USD, so that's the price list, and then you get the final price. So again, some examples out here on the left, and on the right you will see the no commit point plan, then going to 200 minimum commit, that's the VRA I spoke about before, going to 800, 1500, 35, 5000, and then we're going into custom agreements. And you can see the approximately savings on each of those levels. And that's comparable to the no commit, obviously. So for the 1500, you're saving around 22% compared to a no commit. So that should be pretty self-explanatory there. All right. Then we have this overview. It's a little messy, but it actually just makes sense if you go for on the left-hand side and take the use case. So infrastructure protection, that is, the protection of your own, hosting, for example, infrastructure. That if you're looking at the top line in the use case, it's infrastructure protection, you go to SP data protection, that's a service provider data protection. Then you see, okay, obviously there's no end user side involved in this, and you would go to the rental license there. Going down, you're offering a managed service to your customers, and then you go to the end user side. Okay, you would have to, there's two options here. So either you can use the rental service to, I mean, the Vcsp, your service provider license to run the managed service on the customer side, or the user, the customer could have subscription or the perpetual licensing option, and you can just add your service on top of that. But there are some differences, what is beneficial, and we're gonna just talk about that in just going down to the offsite backup and DRS use case. So again, if you're shipping offsite backup, so that means that the customer are running their own backup thing, and in the top line it says rental Veeam backup and replication license if Vcsp, I mean the service provider, owns the license. So that is your rental license. So if you're offering that and you're offering offsite backup, then it says on the right side, VCCB rental license is free. So that is the Cloud Connect, the Veeam Cloud Connect, VCC Veeam Cloud Connect, and then B for backup. So that is moving the data from the installation into your second side Cloud Connect offering. That is actually coming for free. So you're not paying for that at all. So that's a service you can offer to your customers. You can offer the license on the customer side as a part of your rental license program. And then for free, I mean, license-wise, you would there would be a cost to the storage and stuff like that. But license-wise, there's no cost on moving the data to your Cloud Connect repository. Stepping down to the next one, that's still the offsite backup, but here the customer owns the license, either perpetual or subscription. And if you do a second site backup via the Cloud Connect backup, that would incur a cost. So you would be charged, and you would have to charge for the backup copy rental on the Cloud Connect in that scenario. So there's a great benefit of offering the customer your Cloud Connect license, because then you can offer the second site backup without this extra license cost on top of that. So it's really beneficial, and it's a great offer again also for existing customers, even though they have invested in the license. And when they're looking at extending the service, you would actually be able to kind of come in, offer your rental license with your service on top, and even add the second side, maybe to a lower cost than renewing the subscription or renewing the perpetual license that the customer already invested in. All right, then going down to the disaster recovery as a service, that is specifically the rental part. And again, we have the two scenarios: either you're using your cloud provider license and your service on top, and that's on the customer side, or the customer has subscription or perpetual license. And in both cases, as you can see here, the Veeam Cloud Connect replication is always paid, because Veeam consider this a special scenario because it's a disaster recovery as a service. It's a replication. It's a case where you would have the VM almost instantly up to date, and then be able to run it on the cloud provider side. So that's a specific case that requires some network planning, that requires a lot of other things, and that's just something that you would charge for anyway. So that's why they have it as a paid license. Also important to know here that the rental, if something goes wrong on the VM and it's being replicated, obviously the replicated VM will have the same kind of symptoms that the original VM had. So replication VM is only to protect from the environment that the VM is running on, not protect the VM itself. If something goes wrong in Windows on one side, it also goes wrong in Windows on the other side, right? Lastly, we have the public cloud protection, the use case Azure AVS, and again, software as a service data protection, like the backup for Microsoft, for Microsoft. And both of those would go into to your side and have a cost there, as we went through before. Hope it makes sense. Yes. So let me just recap this one. Yeah. So I mentioned this before. This is just the program in how it's made is very flexible. It's you can just request license keys, get access to them instantly and stuff like that. So it's so important to be in compliance with the program that you are not reselling these licenses. You have to convert them into a service. Only when you convert them into a service are you able to use this program. So that if you at some point, just are charging what a license would normally be and you're using this program, then you're in violation of the program rules and there's going to be a compliance issue. So make sure that in this program, when you're offering a managed service, it's your managed service protected with the Veeam software, right? But you brand it as your own, you can brand it as Veeam, it's okay, it just have to be your service. So no license brokering or stuff like that. All right. Pulse Portal. So this is where all the magic happens. You have all the features and it's continuously being built out with a lot of capabilities and stuff like that. You do the reporting, you can get reports and stuff, you manage your contract in there, you manage your license keys, so everything day to day. So I don't want to go through all these things, but if you know the program, you know what the Veeam portal is, and it's just your normal day-to-day operating tool for the whole Vcsp program. So again, this is for the active rental keys, how you get them. So when you report your numbers in, you request the license key, you install it in the product. If you are running the product, but you are not reporting any consumption in the product, the license key will be terminated. If you generate a license key, you put it in the product, you report consumption, you expand the license key in the Pulse portal, the license key would automatically be updated in the installation. So this is just, the way it works. It's pretty automated and pretty flexible. As I mentioned, using the service provider console, you are able to do a lot of the management on the license key directly from the service provider console as well, and you don't have to go into to the Pulse portal. Oh, yeah, as I mentioned, it's auto updating from the installation. If you have this update license automatically enabled in the installation, so you go to the program in the burger menu, and then you go down to the license information tab, and you click this, and it will automatically update the license key when it can see the Veeam servers there. So then there's a grace period and a buffer. So again, when you have a license key that has expired, you have a 6 days grace period. Also, you will have a buffer limit of 20 VMs, so 20%, whichever greater. And so there's, even if you have an installation that's kind of decoupled or something, you have some time to run on that. And again, if you're providing this service to a customer and the customer terminates the service contract with you, also in the Pulse portal, you will have a possibility to revoke the license for that customer. And then it would automatically terminate on the customer side. But just be aware that you still have in the rules of the program, you still need to actually, take certain steps to make sure that you're reporting on all the active installations, and obviously decommission installations that are not, eligible to run anymore or for any reason needs to be terminated. So that is still something you would have to be doing and are responsible for. All right. So again, capturing usage report, and this is just to highlight, because some partners have been finding the consumption numbers different ways. So again, there's a right way of doing it, and there's unfortunately also a wrong way of doing this. It's also mentioned in the guides of the program, but we are just highlighting it here again. So the usage reporting is built in the products. So the products would actually highlight the current consumption, and that's something you need to report. It's also aggregated through, I mean, every installation of the Veeam Backup and Replication. And again, you can use the service provider console to aggregate all your installations in one number and just report those. So again, here is just for your, I mean, we're going to send out the slide deck so you will have this information, but it's also available in the Pro Partner Portal and stuff like that. This is just to highlight where you can find the consumption numbers. So anything that is showing you numbers, but it's not listed on this page, these are not the correct numbers. Only the numbers that is listed through these path or overviews, that is the numbers you need to report on the consumption. I've seen some partners, unfortunately, making the mistake that they have pulled a report somewhere and they have reported those numbers, and they are, you know, not correct. They need to be taken directly from these sources to be applicable. And again, just showing you here, I won't go through this. This is just to show you, you have 5 VMs. That's a multiplier of 5 points per VM. You get the total numbers, and that's the numbers that you're reporting in on the consumption. Yeah. Then you have the service provider console, and that would aggregate it, the numbers. And here I have highlighted 2 things. When you on the left side go down in the menu called licensing, and then you can see the overview here. And again, don't report the numbers in the overview. You need to go to the tab called usage reports, and that would give you the correct number of the consumption for the current month. So that is the place to find that. You can also go to the plugin library, as I highlighted on the left side, and here you would find a plugin for the Pulse portal that should integrate the service provider console directly with Pulse. All right, again, just usage views. You can see here that you have the enterprise version, your support ID, that's actually the contract number you have with Veeam in the Vcsp. You have the consumption count there, and yeah, that's it. This is from another product, looks a little different, but it's the same thing. And again, this is taken from the report, the usage report, where you have a summary of everything that needs to be reported. This is a screenshot from the Pulse portal, and here you can see this is actually taken from a real-life partner. They have requested a lot of different licenses. They're only reporting on some licenses though, and that's perfectly fine. They have consumption on some, and some they don't have consumption on. And they just write the numbers in there, what they have consumed. That's being calculated, and then you have the final point value. Yeah, all right. So going through, this is units, different type. Whatever is licensed. So license actually doesn't mean, you know, that you have to pay for it. It just means, you know, the keys that you have requested. So you can see they've requested a lot of keys, and the volume of those keys that's been requested. Gives you an overview of the previous month and the current month you are entering, and boom, you have the result. All right, so finding the information, and I always recommend this. It can be in a hectic world, it can be something that you skip, but recommended doing your research before you lift off. Again, Pro Partner has all the information about the programs. I mean, admittedly, it's not the worst, but it's not the best to find the information, but it's pretty good, divided in a pretty nice way, and it should be fairly easy to find most of these things. The program guide that governs the whole program is in there. You can also have product certifications that you can take there. That's free to take. If there's promotion, whatever, webinars, recorded webinars, stuff like that. Pulse portal, won't go through that. We already went through that. You have the My Veeam is where you are creating the support cases and managing support cases. An important thing here to mention is actually that, when you are, if you have a customer that are using your cloud provider rental keys because you are delivering a managed service to them, they won't have access to Veeam support because that's something you take care of as a part of the managed service. And that's, again, why it's so important that you sell it as a service and not a license key. Again, it's not allowed. Also, the customer don't have access to the support. So if you have customers that needs to be able to create support cases or handle support cases, then I would definitely offer them perpetual licensing or subscription licensing instead. Or maybe convince them that, you can do a better job than them spending the time creating support cases. That's also a possibility. Then we have the Vcsp Forum. This is for the cloud service providers. A lot of good information. Your colleagues, if you run into a problem or challenge, possibility is that one of your colleagues in the marketplace already had that problem, and they either solved it or raised it in the forums. So definitely look for the Vcsp forums. Highly recommend that. And again, then we have ArrowSphere. ArrowSphere is when you're reporting in polls, all the numbers get pushed back to ArrowSphere. And if you have other subscriptions in ArrowSphere, you would be able to see everything in there. So just a nice place to have everything on all your programs, not just Veeam collected in. Program compliance. So again, read the program guide. I'm telling you a lot of information, but again, one part of being a cloud provider is also knowing that what's actually in the program. We'll help you in this FastForward series, and we're going to do it again twice a year. So new hands on deck, attend this webinars, and we'll cover the topics there, or if anything has changed, right? Also, make sure you report and submit the reports no later than the 5th of each month. That makes the lives easier for everybody. Recommending using the cloud service provider console just to make sure you have the correct numbers, you're looking at the right numbers, and you're providing the right numbers when you're doing the reporting. So definitely recommending that. Okay, and just store data. For your safety, if you have been over reporting, there's no way of proving that other than keeping the records at hand. So again, the product would actually store the data, but if you're collecting it through the service provider console, just make sure you have like a safe place, or maybe export the reporting thing, so you can go back and review it later on. So just in case of audit, or if there's something that we need to revisit historical, it's much easier when you have the data there. Okay, and if you are ever in doubt, that's why we are here. So reach out to us and we'll help get your question answered. Are you allowed to do that? No. Or can I do this? Yes. Anything, just contact us. Better safe than sorry, right? And that brings us to almost top of the hour. So any questions, any thoughts about this? If it was nice, thumbs up, whatever. Also, if you want, we can unmute you and you can ask your question online here. Again, we'll send out a link with the recording, and we'll also send out this presentation that contains all the hyperlinks with all the resources. If you have any suggestion for improving these webinars or stuff like that, feel free to write to me or contact me. And I don't have anything further here. So if there's no questions or anything, nope. Then I just want to thank you for spending time with us this afternoon, and hope you got something out of this. Again, feel free to invite me over for coffee or anything, or just get in touch with us if you have any questions. Thank you so much for your time and participation.